Well, I don't anticipate there'll be a lot of people wanting to watch this, tune in today. I know there's a sort of sense of therapy behind all of this. This feels a bit beyond that, doesn't it, right now? I said on the, and it's funny, I actually joked about this very thing happening. On the Patreon pod, I discussed at a preview ahead of this. I discussed that, with the signing of Johnny Heitinger, it seemed as though a clear statement from the club that there was a vote of confidence in Thomas Frank. Giving Thomas Frank Conor Gallagher felt like a clear sign again, another vote of confidence. So I said to myself, and I said on the preview pod, I think it's time for me to take a step back from the edge, if you like. Past few pods, I've been very, Frank has to go, he has to go. We have to take a step back from that. Because in my head, it's like, well, clearly the club are doubling down now. They're doubling down on him, giving him the assistant that he wants, giving him one of the players that he wants. So it's kind of wasted energy every single game, us saying, get rid of him, get rid of him. But get rid of him. With that said, get rid of him. That's a shambles. That's a shambles. Look, you might feel that this is hyperbole, and you crack on if you do. I will say, at 40 years old, this is the worst, and I'm talking about like the fine edge of this, right? I'm talking about last season bleeding into this season. In terms of over a prolonged period, over continued form, the same sort of patterns repeating themselves, this is the worst I've ever seen Tottenham Hotspur in my lifetime. Like, I don't get off on catastrophizing about Spurs going down or us being in, like I say, this terminal decline. But there comes a point when you're not beating West Ham at home. You have to ask yourself, where do we pick up points? It's quite simple. It's quite straightforward. I've said this stuff for a couple of weeks. I'm worried about Spurs. I'm worried about the direction. And fair enough. I'm not saying that this is a stupid position for anyone in opposition to take, but I've been having people say back to me, don't be ridiculous. Like, Spurs will spend, we'll get our way out of trouble, we'll pick up enough points. That's fine. I think it's fine to feel that way, and I think to a degree that's a fairly rational position based upon the Tottenham that we've seen for the majority of our lifetimes. The Tottenham that we've seen for the majority of our lifetimes that is decent enough. The Tottenham that has perhaps had a poor stage, but has at least had a Teddy Sheringham or a Jermaine Defoe or a Dimitar Berbatov or a Robbie Keane or a David Ginola to dig us out of a hole, a Harry Kane, a Son Heung-min. Who do we have? Like, who? Honestly, ask yourself, who do we have? Who do we have? For years, we would sit and I'd be sit there and be part of and just be privy to debates about somebody like a Jermaine Defoe. Is he good enough for Tottenham? We haven't even got anyone close to that level right now. But regardless of that, regardless of the man-for-man comparisons tonight type of thing, let's just stick with the bigger picture of Spurs. We lose and lose and lose and lose now. I've got to dig it out because there was a stat that I read before this game. Where is it? The West Ham Spurs preview. Maybe they've binned it off now after the game, but I'm pretty certain it was in the last 21 home games. Make it 22 now, but I'm pretty sure before this game, in the last 21 home games, we'd lost 14 of those, and drawn and won about a similar amount, which we can talk about being terrible. We can talk about, oh, that's really bad, as like a quirk, as something that we're going to dig ourselves out of. But we're not. Like, it gets worse and worse and worse. And there has to come a point, surely, when you can rationally say, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. Where do we pick up points? West Ham, look, let's not pretend, right? Let's not pretend there's an added edge to this, right? West Ham are terrible. They've just beaten us. West Ham are terrible. But we know that you can expect a certain intensity from West Ham. This is a derby. Anything can happen, right? Okay, fine. You can take that on board. Why aren't we making anything happen? Like, we're not sitting here, Rosie. Why aren't we at least laying out a statement of intent? All right, we're not in a good run of it. We're not in a good vein of form, but at least we can lay down a marker here. We can lay down a marker. We can put West Ham to the sword. We can say bye-bye, goodbye to the Championship. We're bad, but we're not that bad. Are we unable to do that? Is it that the players don't want to do that? They want Frank out. They're not motivated by him. They don't feel, love from the crowd. They don't feel this. They don't feel that. I mean, I'm really looking forward to hearing how this one's the fans' fault as well. The protest or something or other. I'm guessing, right? There'll be something or other. Any way to sort of pin the blame onto the fans as opposed to just the diabolical levels of professionalism that you see on show from our players. The absence of anything close to imagination in the tactical approach from the manager, who every single game. Look, and I want to be fair here. I want to be fair. There's a lot of things I've been calling him out on in the past few weeks. You don't talk about us. You always talk about the opposition. You don't fill us with hope. You don't do this. Again, like I say, I know I keep plugging it, but whatever. The Patreon preview pod, I go through the press conferences and I noted ahead of this one, it felt like Thomas Frank had finally got the brief. It felt like going into this game, he was talking about the need for Spurs to be front-footed. He was talking about ignoring the situation that West Ham are in. He didn't want to entertain that. What he wanted to talk about was Spurs and how we approach the game and how we will take the game to West Ham. Fine, that's good. But it evidently seems to be empty platitudes. I refuse to believe that at least the playing quality of these footballers is as bad as they are displaying. However, I don't think this all lies on the shoulders of Thomas. Look, Thomas Frank needs to go. In my opinion, Thomas Frank should be gone tomorrow morning. Like, don't wait till Monday. Get rid of him tonight, as Flav would say, right? He's got to go. Like, he has to go tonight. In my opinion, that's it. Doesn't matter who comes next. It really doesn't, because if we stick with this fella, it's only going one way. To me, like, this isn't getting better. This isn't getting better. It gets worse almost with every single game. We lost to West Ham at home. Like, West Ham, who I think were, it's their first win in 10, 11 games? Like, it really doesn't get much worse than this. I know it's Mick McCarthy and all that, but this is bottom of the barrel, right? Where are these magical points? Where are these magical wins coming from? Where are these performances coming from? I can't sit through any more press conferences of this geezer talking about us having a good spell in the first half, a decent spell in the second half. You're the manager of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, mate. And yeah, like, the people in charge, will get on to them. This has been a managed decline. This is a decline pretty much for the final year of Mauricio Pochettino. So what are we saying? 6-7 years? But I would say there's been a stark decline in the past 5 years. Let's say last 5 years, we've really, really, really started to drop. We've started to drop and other teams around us have started to grow, right? And that's natural. That's going to happen if you take your foot off the grass. Foot off the gas, let the grass grow, take your foot off the whatever, let the gas grow. If you don't take it seriously, this is the sort of thing that's going to happen. We can't sit and act like this is a surprise. Thomas Frank, again, like I say, is the tip of the iceberg. Thomas Frank is the tip of the iceberg. He's got to go. He has to go. He has to go. Whatever it is not inspiring them. Whatever it is that he's doing, whatever it is that he's saying, just is not resonating. It's not resonating. I don't know how anybody in charge of this football club can look at him, look at these sort of performances and see anything other than a terminal decline. And I keep saying that, but this is no joke. This is no joke, Matt. I'm sure it is for West Ham fans. Sure it is for any West Ham fan or Arsenal fan or whatever that tunes into this and has a laugh. That's fine. That's good. You know, whatever. That's what football is about. But what I'm saying is for Spurs, this is no joke. You've got to be serious. You have to be serious. There's no Harry Kane. There's no Son Heung-min to dig you out anymore, lads. Like, you cannot allow this to continue. This hubris from Vinay Venkatesan, who is this guy, man? Like, who is this guy? Just some rando we brought in that we're going to entrust with what? A multi-billion-pound sporting institution. We're not going to let him stick with this geezer in charge because what? Because he made an appointment. Oh, he was top of a 20-man list. Who was on this 20-man list, man? Like, do you know what I mean? The thing is, these are the sort of pods, these are the sort of raw ones that I do after a game where, like, I think about them. Like, later on, I'll think about this and I'll think how embarrassing that you've gone all wobble-headed on a thing afterwards. But look, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do these post-match, literally on the final whistle things, final whistle goes, I come upstairs, I load my computer, I sit down, I think of it, whatever the title is, press go live. It's going to be raw. It's going to be this. And, you know, I care about Spurs. Like, I love this football club, you know? I wouldn't have been doing this type of stuff. You know, anybody that knows I've been making this sort of stuff for years. Even before I did my animations, when I was like a nerdy kid from the age of about 13, 14, I ran like a little Tottenham website and always I've always done stuff with Spurs online. This doesn't bring me joy. There's none of this like nonsense about like these podcasters, these vloggers love this. It means they get more views. It means they get, no, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. Like the listenership pretty much halves when we go for these sort of periods. Interestingly enough, for full clarity, it actually hasn't at the moment because I think we're so bad that people actually want to hear other people talk about it. They want to feel like this isn't just me that feels this is terrible, right? Like other people agree with me. And that's kind of where it feels to be at right now. But this isn't some like, you know, the world's a stage, let's get up and have a laugh about this because Spurs are going down. Like this is the worst thing that can happen. Spurs might literally go down the year Arsenal win like the treble, the quadruple. You know, like what have we done? Which one of you made that deal with the devil for the Europa League? Who out of you did that? Own up now. One of you did it. Spurs beat Manchester United in a European Cup final. What could have happened there? Oh, now I see. Jump into bed with the devil. Don't be surprised when he rams a hot poker in your nether regions. Oh my God. It's just saying this out loud, man. Like, lose. I don't know. You know, I felt that, you know, signing. So I was not particularly happy about the signing of Conor Gallagher. I wasn't like unhappy about it, but you know, I've never really rated him that much or anything like that. But I listened to, again, like Flav had Harry Brooks back on the lab. They had a good conversation about Conor Gallagher, and it actually made me feel a bit more positive. You know, made me feel more positive hearing somebody that knows exactly what he's talking about in terms of football. Sort of, you know, espouse the positives, the good qualities that somebody like Conor Gallagher brings to the side. I started to look on it as in like, there's a positive in bringing Conor Gallagher. Right, he might not be the progressive passer. He's not the Rodri that we all want or feel we need type of thing. But, and I know this is scoffed at by certain people. Certain people don't like the idea of the sort of the proper football mannerisms in football. At least somebody gets it. At least there's some passion. But I think it's either, you know, disingenuous or quite naive to think that that means nothing in football, though. You know, I think most teams need to have a bit of a passion merchant. And I don't think it's fair to call Conor Gallagher a passion merchant either. The point I'm trying to drive at is that I saw Conor Gallagher's acquisition as like a positive in the respect that it feels like we've got so many players now who are tainted by whatever it is at Spurs, this rotten core that has been allowed to fester at this club for so long. There's players who are far better than the levels they're showing because somehow they've been touched by this, just this whiffy kind of, you know, juju that there is at the club that you sort of feel that like if there's more personalities like Gallagher around, and I saw him, like you saw it today, he was kind of trying to get players up the pitch, trying to get sort of the, you know, the levels going and all this type of thing. But at the moment, it feels like, you know, feels like someone trying to close the door on a submarine, you know, like that's already submerged. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I don't see what happens here. I don't see, you know, I don't think we have. Randall Colomwani couldn't care less. Fine, he's a lone player. He's not a Spurs fan. Whatever, you know, one might say professional pride, but fine. You know, it's just a job to him. Doesn't care that much. Fine. Dominic Solanke, you know, has one leg at the moment, really. You know, right, he's getting fitter, but, you know, Richarlison's done. Mathis Tell gets put out on the wing. Frank obviously doesn't fancy him. You know, he just doesn't fancy him, even though I think he's always one of our brightest players. Wilson Odobert is a handy player, but he's young. Xavi Simons is good. I think he's stuttering a bit, but, you know, I think there's promise from him, but I don't think he's at the level yet that is going to save Tottenham if we need if we need somebody to really dig in and get us out of a relegation scrap. Like, what happens this window? Who do we sign? Who comes in? Because we need somebody. We need somebody. We need that Sheringham. We need that Berbatov. We need that Keane, that Son, whoever it is, that Defoe. We need somebody that we can rely on, somebody that can just bother opposition defenders, that can score goals, that can just make goals from nothing. Because Frank's football doesn't create chances. It just doesn't. It doesn't create chances. There's nothing from this, man. There's nothing there. Like, you can't keep saying this, and you can't keep listening. Can't keep listening to him going on about the fact that there's positive signs. You know, when there's a wind, you build a shelter. And shut up, man. Shut up. What are you talking about? Just devise a few game plans that create opportunities. Like, West Ham are playing through balls today, man. West Ham. There's just. I feel like it's one of these things where it's like I feel like I'm going genuinely mental. I feel like I'm going mad watching this because every week now I'm watching Spurs and I watch us turn in abysmal performances. I watch players who aren't really that arsed, who are more keen on getting into arguments or barneys with fans or this or that than they are seemingly to get stuck in against the opposition. That's probably unfair. That's probably me going a bit gammon. So, you know, whatever. I'm emotional. But still, I feel like I'm going mental because I'm watching a team that just seems so incapable of winning games, that seems absolutely miles off being able to do anything. I'm watching Tottenham, like my Tottenham Hotspur, your Tottenham Hotspur, be the sort of team that we have watched down the years, who you're like, they're going to go. If they're not careful. Like, there's been several seasons, several years where I've watched Everton, Everton, for example, and thought, this might be the year. This might be the year for them. Like, they are not looking good. This might be their year. I don't know where they pick up wins from. I think the most notable one was the Richarlison season, and he's picking up the flair and all that type of stuff, right? And I look at us and I think, that's us. That's who we are. That's the team that Spurs are now. We're just caught in this whirlpool, and we can't get out of it. I don't see how we're getting out of this. We might sign, there's that really tenuous talk we're going to sign Adam Wharton. That's not happening, man. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. We're not spending £100 million on Adam Wharton. We're simply not. And even if we do, who's he playing balls to? He's a great player. Don't get me wrong. He's a great player. Who's he playing balls to? Who are we bringing out up front to finish anything? It's a lot of trust to place in Dominic Solanke, who, has missed a long time, who looks not fit at all. And that's to be expected. I'm not saying that as a slight against Dominic Solanke. He's been out for a long time. He's probably been rushed back because we're in this position. But I think, I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know. I think we're in serious trouble, man. We are in serious trouble. And I know this is all very Chicken Little, the sky is falling, but we've just lost to West Ham at home, right? Just look at our February fixtures and tell me where we're picking up points. We're looking at, I think we got Burnley away. Is it next game? I think it's our next Premier League game, Burnley away or something like that, I think. What happens when we go there and lose? Where do these magical points come from? Jonas Barre says, Thomas Frank has to go to prison for this. I'm being genuinely serious. I mean, we might do all right. Do you know what I mean? Is it Dynamo Zagreb? Didn't they have a manager in prison? They did all right when that happened. So it was against Spurs. So that's the valuable context behind that. The extra inch. Hello there. Say, when Monday morning comes and Frank still isn't sacked, how do we as fans process that? I think that's a pertinent question. What are we looking at here? Because this isn't just, I've seen the, we've all heard the Chris Suttons or the, whatever his name is, Simon Jordan on TalkSport, all that lot, talking about Spurs fans. Spurs fans don't understand. It's not how football works. Sooner or later, you've got to stick with a manager, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, fine. Stick with a manager. But again, we stick with this geezer? We stick with this hopeless geezer? What, just because... Oh, right. Because of arbitrary reasons, right? Because you just have to. Oh, is that how it works? We have to stick with this guy that just continues to lose, that seemingly just has no idea of how to put us on the front foot, has no idea of how to create anything close to meaningful. So how do we process that? What do we say? We say, the ownership have decided that Vinay Venkatesan has decided that this is what we're going to do because what? We don't want to spend, we don't want to have to spend a 20 million compensation or whatever to get rid of him, in a certain way. You can understand that. It's very easy to sit here, in my little composite podcast studio with my old bits of Tottenham memorabilia on the wall, like some sap sat here. I've supported this club all my life. I've never seen this bad. I don't care. They don't care about any of us. They don't. But they will. They will when the stadium starts not filling up. Let's see what happens then. When you're not selling 60, 70, £80 tickets to go and watch Tottenham play Newcastle or whatever, so you get battered again, right? Then we'll see. What are we cheering on? A big tackle from Conor Gallagher, again, I'm not trying to I'm really not trying to piss on that, but I'm also trying to add some perspective that we're a team that a couple of years ago had Harry Kane and Son Heung-min, you know? Like one of the most historic Premier League partnerships. And yeah, nothing lasts forever, but you're telling me your contingency for the two of them going is Richarlison and Dominic Solanke. I think there is. I honestly, you know, I think my main take behind this, right, is not so much that this is malicious. I think they are. I think probably our board, I think ENIC, whoever, are as uncaring as any big business are, as any football club are. Really, being brutally honest. Yeah, it's a business to all of them. Don't let any of them fool you. Any Premier League clubs, whatever. It's all a business. Every single one of them. I don't think they have a total like negligence or disregard for the fans on a a principled level. I think they just treat people like cattle, like most high level business people do. My main take on all this is there is nobody in the building that gets football. And I know this is so proper football, man, but I don't think any of them understand football. I don't think any of them understand this type of like decline, the momentum of this decline that we're in. I don't think any of them I don't think any of them process the fact that Spurs can actually go down. Spurs can't go down because we're this successful business. And we have this great big stadium. And just a few years ago, we had Harry Kane and Son Heung-min scoring loads of goals for us. And we spent money on Dominic Solanke and Richarlison. So, no, of course we won't go down. But what they don't get is that stuff just happens in sport. Stuff happens in football. Leicester City won the Premier League, you know? Stuff can sometimes happen. And what can happen is that Spurs can go down. But I don't think that even registers to people in the building. I don't even think it registers with a lot of our fans, if I'm being honest with you. And that's fine. You know, a lot of people, you know, I've got friends who will say to me afterwards, I think you're going over the top. I think you're being wobble-headed. Not a chance Spurs go down. That's fine. I'm not saying I am some truth sayer. I'm not saying I'm some sage, some oracle in all this, right? I might just be being a bit emotional after a game where Spurs have lost. And actually, if you break it down more rationally, Spurs will still likely finish 17th or whatever. Great. If that makes you feel, you know, comfortable, right? But I just see it that Spurs continue to get worse. We don't pick up wins. We lose all the time. Beg your pardon. Like, people feel that they can do us, and they usually end up doing so. I honestly, as bad as their season has been, would it shock any of you, if Jared Bowen is in that West Ham dressing room saying, we can have these? These lot are, look, I know we've had a bad season, lads, but Spurs are there for the taking. We can have them. And I know this is this catastrophizing fan fiction, but who would be shocked at all if that's how even the West Ham players went into this game? Who would be at all shocked if the Burnley players go into their game against us thinking, we can do these? When you start to become that team that people just get that scent of death around, that whiff, the smell of blood, all of it, right? When they get that whiff from you, they will go for it. They will go for it and they will go for you. And it would give this country no greater joy than for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club to get relegated. I'm telling you that now. It's not main character syndrome. Turn on the darts, any darting event in the world, and you hear Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. You go down the page of any brand, Specsavers, Domino's Pizza, any of these, you know, rage baiting brands that use social to be, we're friendly, we're funny, you know, go down any of that. It's all Tottenham gags, all of it. I am on Jupiter. Honestly, I am absolutely on Jupiter. This is a pitiful display for me today. I haven't kept my emotions in check at all. I realize I'm losing my ass constantly here, but you know, oh man. Andy C. Woolridge says, what are your thoughts on Pluto possibly regaining planetship? Well, once I go past there, mate, I'll let you know. Yeah. Big Y says they won't sack him. They've bought him another loser friend a few days ago. We're in enormous trouble. And that's exactly how I feel, mate. It's a statement. Bringing in Heitinger at Frank's behest it's a statement of intent. It's them being behind him. It's Greasby says, had enough of this clown. Xavi Alonso is right there. Does Xavi Alonso want to come here, mate? I mean this honestly. Like, I feel like a club of our size should be able to make an attractive package for somebody like Xavi Alonso. In reality, does he want to come here now? No. Not when there's a Manchester United job maybe hovering around in summer, Chelsea job probably. I mean, how long's that, gloves off Lego lad going to last? Who else? Man City, Pep might go, There's big jobs potentially just there. Does Xavi Alonso come to Spurs? Doubt it. G09795 says, we failed to beat Burnley and we are in big trouble. How many points do we realistically get from Man City home? 3 points, let's be honest. Man United away, yep, loss. Newcastle home, maybe a draw. Arsenal home, loss, let's be honest. Fulham away, probably lose. Crystal Palace, we just did them, so, you never know. Liverpool away, I mean, we know what happens there. I don't know, mate. Ian Donaldson says, the Lewis family need to sell, but they're not going to unless we go down, which I suspect we might at this rate. I mean, surely their asset gets depreciated if we do get relegated. I don't know. Pirate Dread Robert says, we are in serious trouble. He has to go now. Echo Sonic Music says, hey, Jack, sigh. I think it is now very clear. If he's still manager for the Dortmund game, it's not just Frank out. It's all out. Vinay, Enek, I am appalled. It's gross, mate. Greek Gods FC says, get rid. This will simply not improve. Worst I've seen in 20 years of support. Yep. I don't see any signs of improvement whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It gets worse with every game. Ample Sample says, this is what Dante's hell must feel like. Stephen Sherman says, at 53 years old, this is the worst I've seen us. Yep. 40 years old, I can say the same, mate. Look, we've had whiffy periods and stuff, right? In the past, in the 90s and the early noughties, right? But I've never seen us so existentially terrible as we are right now. We had 1 year where Jurgen Klinsmann had to save us away at Selhurst Park against Wimbledon, right? That was kind of the sort of squeakiest bum it's ever really been at Spurs. We've had 2 years now of looking that bad. 2 years on the trot. Ben Matthews says, his position is surely untenable. Keeping him after this would purely be stubbornness and backing a complete misstep of a decision. Yeah, 100%, mate. Like, bang on. James Glanville says, I struggle to think of one redeeming feature of this team or club in general currently. Even in the 90s, we had Ginola. What have we got now? This club is broken. Change is needed, top to bottom. Juan Liantang says, I've been saying for 7 months Frank is a clown. How long are we going to suffer? Then a line of crying eyes emojis. Stel Morrison says, I want to know when these Spurs fans who keep bumping into Thomas Frank telling him he's doing a good job. Yeah, I mean, it's been said, hasn't it? It's probably Arsenal fans. Keep going, Thomas. We love you. We want you to stay. 111XX320 says, long-time listener, first-time question answer. How is this absolute clown still at the helm? This is the result of years and years of neglect by the higher-ups, and these days have been coming. I think you've answered your own question there, mate. That's there's a level. I think there's a level of hubris to all of this. Like I was saying before, I think there's this false understanding that nothing bad could ever happen to Tottenham. Spurs could never go down. Yep. El Swindley 3451 says, never been more disconnected with everything Spurs. Taking a break, years just bloody started. Taking a break, years just bloody started. Okay, I see. I was thinking like years was like, because I know there was a program a few years back called Years and Years, wasn't there? Where it was about whatever, I don't care. I'm not talking about that today. Back the end of the world and all that stuff. Deuces Wild says, why spend 100 million on Wharton? Sorry, I said to clear my throat. Why spend 100 million on Wharton when 40 mil on Gray and 40 mil on Gallagher can save us a bit, make us infinitely worse? John Lack says, when I was younger, I knew we were bad, but was excited to see Klinsmann. Now there is no one. Bang on, mate. I'm guessing I'm of a similar sort of age to you, and yeah, it's exactly where I'm at. Ollie Whitefoot says the club is in the malaise and has been bar Bilbao for 18 months. Frank is a huge part of the problem, but do you think these players pull their head out of their arse with another manager? I think it depends. I think it really does depend. I think we need somebody who, like Pochettino was, is going to be brave and is just going to now say, right, I'm playing a few of the youngsters. I'm going to play a few of these lads that have a point to prove. Yeah, I know it's perhaps negligent to use young players at this point in their career to throw them in the deep end, but there needs to be an injection of something from somewhere. There has to be. Luca Williams-Barnett is clearly desperate to play. He has that ego about him, that he's posting kind of, whatever it is, angry side-eye Instagram post or Snapchat, I can't remember what it was, when he didn't get selected for one of the games, FA Cup or something like that. You want a bit of that, you want somebody that's hungry. Yeah, you do want somebody that's hungry, banging down the manager's door. I'm not saying that's the only solution, but I'm saying right now, if we're not going to bring in more players, we're not going to bring in more players of a certain quality, 18-year-old Brazilian left backs aside, great, he might be promising, but again, come on. It's Greasby said, on the high road, overhear a conversation. I've had enough of it. Yeah, so have I. Are you going to Burnley next week? Yep. Are you? Yep. Frank hasn't got a clue what it's like for fans. That's it, innit? You can't check out of it. Joe Batty says, West Ham will do something about their situation. They'll either sack their manager or spend, and we won't. If West Ham have a bounce, then we should be worried. Simple as that. We won't pick up points. I think that's it. I think it's all very fair to ask, where do we get points from? Where do we pick them up from? Delpha Chronic says, if Kane hadn't made himself into the best striker in the world, we wouldn't have even had the good years. Enoch shafted us instead of investing in the team. Kane carried us. Bang on. Absolutely bang on. Stiggy says, according to The Athletic, West Ham's XG was over 2.5. He's not even fixed it for us defensively to go with the awful football. No, that's it. I simped for it at the start. When we got rid of Ange, I was like, well, fine. At least whatever the John pragmatist stuff. I know it's a nice soundbite, and it's kind of, all the more harrowing now, isn't it? But you look at Frank, the proposition that it was. I wasn't over the moon about the idea of him coming in, but I still thought he'll raise our floor a bit. He'll make us more solid. Has he? What has he done? It's awful. It's awful. It feels like every game, every single team we can play against can score 2 or 3 goals against us. Ben Matthews says 10 points off the drop now, and we're a seemingly winless side. This isn't a joke anymore. It's a possibility. Agree. Pee-wee says players want Frank out. It's obvious. MJBTHFC 1991 says, I go into every game expecting to lose, and this season has genuinely been the first time in my life I've had no optimism before games. I hate what this club and management is doing to us. It's disgusting. Yeah. Vito Luchisi says, Dr. Tottenham, Nurse Frank, and Ward Boy Vicario, perfect combination. Man, I know it's the thin end of the wedge, but just get Vicario out of my club, man. Honestly, I know I've got the Vicario agenda, and I know it's one of those Marmite issues, but the guy is a clown. He's not good enough. He is just not good enough. Not even close. The Expendable Panda says, few minutes behind, sorry, but the death spiral is in full swing. There we go. Paul Scott says, Jack, your Barnet is absolute fire. Oh, thank you very much, sir. It needs a bit of a cut, to be honest, mate. It's getting a bit floppy. It's getting a bit Thomas Frank, maybe. We'll see. Just needs tidying up a bit, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Pat Foley says he won't go because of Langer. Yeah. Vito Lucchesi says, when was the last time we played good football? We had that spell under Conte. Honestly, that's it. The Champions League year with Antonio Conte, that's the last time we played good football. The last time we played truly exceptional football was the away game at Manchester City, where I think Harry Kane put in literally one of the best performances I've ever seen a Premier League player put in ever. I think that's the last time where I can genuinely, and I know we've thrashed City a few times since then, but whatever. I think that away game at the Etihad in that Conte year is the last time when I could really, hand on heart, look at my club, look at our club, and say we're a proper team when we want to be. We are a good side. And don't know. Anon Nomad says, relegation isn't a hard reset, by the way. Ask Schalke and Hamburg if things got better after being relegated. 100%, mate. 100%. Schalke, is it Schalke I'm thinking of? Maybe it's Hamburg. I'm pretty sure it's Schalke have had a nice big new shiny stadium at that point as well. It's a fairly modern stadium, I want to say maybe built around the same time as the Emirates. It's I do see a lot of people saying it might be fun, it might be the reset we need. Absolutely under no circumstances, man. Spurs going down is horror. It's horror. Do you think, honestly, do you think that bloody Urukai waiting for us in the Championship are not going to relish every single time they get to play Tottenham Hotspur? Come to our ground, kick lumps out of us. We are not built for that league, man. We are not built for that football. This club is not built for Championship football. It isn't at all. By fighting Urukai. A bit of a Christopher Lee. 25 years. Lord of the Rings, right? 25 years since they, made the greatest trilogy of films ever made. Wonderful. Da, 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 da. The one and only Demi-Edge says, not quite. We haven't seen the bottom of the barrel yet. We're getting relegated this season. I'm not saying you're wrong, mate. Chris Jewell says, horrendous football. As for Vicario, he's not very good. He's cost us again, the flapper. Agency Panic says, Jack, mate, that was the pits. One-way ticket to the championship. Worst I've seen since Gross. Shocking. Coys. Yeah. RS9 Coy says, keeping this guy around is becoming an insult to the fans. We have a right to expect more. Brian Park says, today was the second highest XG West Ham has created all season, by the way. Dear, oh dear. Patrick Lonson says, if the board don't act now, they face losing any goodwill created by sacking Levy. I mean, isn't it gone? I don't know. Durr says, since being in the new stadium, we've spent 300 million euros on 18 to 21-year-olds and have got one starting quality player out of it, Udogi, who is now a crock. We have to abandon this recruitment policy. Capote says, manager swap with Palace. Yeah, maybe I'm one of those that sort of wonders if it would be miles better under Glasner anyway. They're not exactly flying. I know they've got a few injuries and stuff, but still. Patrick Longson also says this is a team filled with internationals who start for good national teams. They don't play with any cohesion. They look surprised when they receive the ball. Xavi looks lost. I'm going to say, right, again, I'm emotional and I'm lashing out. I thought Xavi was abysmal today. I thought he was awful, really disappointing. Like, I know the system doesn't suit him. I know it's not an ideal situation he's been dropped into, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, come on, man. Minor, but still, I thought he was really terrible today, personally speaking. And on Nomad says, you're not wobble-headed. There's nothing factually wrong about anything you've said. Thank you. Are we in an echo chamber? And on Nomad. Is that what they call it, isn't it, on the internet now? We're going to have to start talking about 5G towers and stuff like that in a second. Ridley says, we have good basis and future players in the squads. Gray, Bergvall, Moore, etc., but now no players in any form or consistent enough. Yeah. Cracker 130 says, get him out tonight. Joe Batty says, I thought Spurs bringing in John Heitinger would show them backing Frank, but they cannot keep him after this. And it will be just another horrific move at board level. Pure incompetence. I mean, it's awful, isn't it? Ryan says, looking at the fixtures in February, we could be in banging trouble. I keep talking about it. Let's go over the Tottenham fixtures, right? Tottenham fixtures in January. So next weekend, Burnley away. What are we saying there? Loss, probably. Maybe a draw. Man City at home, 1st of February. So, I mean, we do often beat Manchester City when we have no right to, and they seem to be awful. They seem to want to be handing Arsenal the league this year. So, I don't know. Will we beat Man City? In the funny side, yeah, we might do, but in the being real side, probably not. Manchester United away, probably not. Newcastle at home, you'd love to say yes, but probably not. Arsenal at home, again, you'd revel in saying yes, but almost definitely not. I mean, what is that, man? You know, past few years going into North London derbies, feeling like we had a chance, or at least not even just a chance, feeling like we'd probably beat them. And now back in that place again where it's almost like a fantasy. But the thing is, what we need to get is that spirit that they had. Even when they were appalling, they still managed to show up against us, you know, at times. Oh, God. Patrick Longston asked me if he says, I'd be interested to hear your view on whether the club can withstand the financial impact of relegation. Honestly, mate, I don't have any idea on that side of things. But if you are interested, maybe I can get Levy-nomics back on the pod and we can discuss that. Could be an interesting talking point. Seeing what actually happens to Spurs if we do go down from a financial perspective, because I can't imagine it's anything good. Nick from Venn says, at least we've got a manager with a solid plan to turn things around. Yeah. Benes says, I put money down on our top goal scorer this season, if under Frank, will be a defender. Yeah. Who is our leading scorer? Our leading scorers this season. So it's Richarlison with 7 goals. And then, so Richarlison with 7. Then it's Mickey van der Ven, João Palhinha, and Mathis Tell, all with 3. Mohamed Kudus, Christian Romero, Pat Matassar with 2. And then we have Bentancur, Bergval, Simmons, Gray, Davis, all with 1 goal each. I mean, that is bleak. That is bleak. Cracker 130 says, can't pass, can't hold the ball up, can't shoot, can't press. Give teams so much space. West Ham were pressing us, giving us no time on the ball. Ridley says 4 wins in the last 25 home games. Dirty Sanchez, Spurs are now 20-1 for relegation. Chirpy Wiggins says Frank will be gone tonight. I wish I shared your optimism, mate. JC Kelt says the Gallagher signing is just what got us into this mess. Signing okay players we don't really need simply because they're available on a good deal, no plan. I'm not going to argue with that. Like, I think I get what you're saying. You're presenting this in a way that is like, you know, a negative slant on it. And I don't disagree with your point at all. The only thing I'm trying to do is like look for the positives in it because the deal has been done. And, you know, it's always worthwhile trying to find the positives in things. But your point stands. I agree with it entirely. And I've gone on about that for years on here now, that's what Spurs do. The multi-channel says, get Robbie Keane in for 6 months. He'll get us going again. Maybe he will, or maybe it'll get worse. I mean, can it get much worse? We just lost to West Ham at home. Probably not. Daryl says he has to go. Should have gone weeks ago. Oh, man. Nuken Foob says, Ange haters are hilarious. Dude, STFU. All right. Gazetronic says, Thomas Frank, Thomas WANK, more like. At least he'll be gone after whatever that was. Said a few weeks ago he derailed himself this time, surely. I don't know, mate. I really don't know. Debs says, on my way home from that dross, I'm raging. They won't want to pay him off, so they'll keep him. The club are disgraceful. 100%, Debs. Like, it's mad. It's like, you know, I say to all my mates that go to games, I get it. I'm an armchair now, and I'm wound up enough as it is. I can't imagine how you season ticket holders are feeling, people that go home and away every single week, that go out, become the voice of the club, like cheer them on for 90 minutes, especially in away games, and then constantly get blamed for everything that's going on the pitch. The fact that the club, seemingly don't have a word in the ears of the players, of the managers, of whoever, to tell them to maybe stop, go in for the fans all the time. I don't know. High IQ says, it'd be spelt high IQ in like a funny way, which is indicative of a high intelligence quotient in itself. He appears to have no idea how to set up a team for success, and his substitutions are abysmal. Tell and Odeberg taken off, Mawani and Bergvall essentially replacing them. Give me a break. Yeah. Sonny J says, all right, bro, are you the guy who used to make the cartoons years ago? I am. He said they're brilliant. Thank you. Cheers. Bad Nasher says, such a nerd. Yeah, So I'm assuming you're saying that in response to me talking about Lord of the Rings, maybe. It is one of those things, isn't it? Like, I'm such a nerd. I like the most popular film franchise of all time. Mr. Stephen Stotch says, also Langer is a big part of the problem. As Frank, the bloke is absolutely hopeless. Look at his record everywhere he's been. Yeah, Langer got sacked from Villa, and look at where they've gone since then. The Super Todd says, best stadium in the Championship. You'll never sing that. Yeah. Sonny J says, maybe Thomas Frank is safe. I can't see the board getting Johnny Heitinger as another coach. Part of Thomas Frank's staff. It's more money to sack them all. Yep. And it's just lots of people saying that, saying the same thing. It's not good. It's not good. We're not in a good place. We're in a very bad place. And I'm just at risk of repeating myself now, really. Saying the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, I do that almost every week now, don't I? But I'm saying, like, in this podcast in particular, I don't think there's an awful lot more that can be said than we really have. Spurs are in big trouble. Like, we're in big trouble. That's a too long didn't read. Spurs are in big trouble. If we're not picking up points against West Ham at home, where are we picking up points? Appreciate everybody for listening, watching. If you are watching on YouTube right now, please drop it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that type of thing. I'm close to like 4,000 subs. So, if you want to sub, then please do. That would be really appreciated. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to it on Spotify, especially, just drop it 5 stars, please. Let's get the ratings up to 1,000 if we can. That's the aim. That's what it's all about now, isn't it? Numbers. Oh, little numbers to validate me. Pathetic. You're 40 years old. You have a newborn child downstairs, and you're up here in your room with your little pictures of Tottenham on the wall behind you. Pathetic. Grow up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Come on, you Spurs, I guess. Patreon.com/RTRpod. Try and enjoy the rest of your weekends. Yeah, much love. Bye-bye.